Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots. All right, everybody. Happy Sunday. You have encountered Kicking It with Kaz. My name is Kaz. I'm joined by my good old fine-feathered friend, Al. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine today. And I hope everybody out there is doing good today. It's not too bad of a Sunday.
It's really not that bad. It's actually it's been a great day. I mean, the weather's been just perfect this weekend. It was kind of hot and balmy during the middle of the week, and then we had a cold front come through, and it's just been a great day.
Too bad. We actually, I'm up here in the Northwest, and it was actually started out a little bit wet, but it cleared up midday and has actually been somewhat sunny, a little bit of an overcast, but still no winds, no nothing. It's actually pretty nice.
And I guess in your part of the company, or in your part of the country rather, when the sun comes out, you got to like drop whatever plans you had and get outside and enjoy it.
Oh yeah, we get sun. The sun is kind of on off till sometime in June. Up until then, there's no telling. We even get snow in June.
Get out of here, really?
Oh, yes.
Are you at a higher elevation, or are you down towards sea level?
We're only about a little under 2,000 feet. So we're not that high up. It just, for some reason, we because we're near the mountains, it hits us. It sweeps up from down in Oregon and then comes up this way. So it's not bad, though. I mean, you get as the saying goes during spring and fall. If you don't like the weather, wait a couple hours. It'll change for you.
That's not bad. Hey, I do want to take a moment and pay our respects and condolences to the family of Arlie Ermy, who is he's Gunny. He was Gunny in Full Metal Jacket. There was a statement issued by his manager. It says, "It is with deep sadness that I regret to inform you that Arlie Ermy, the Gunny, has passed away this morning from complications of pneumonia. He will be greatly missed by all of us. It is a terrible loss that no one was prepared for. He's meant so much to so many people, and it is extremely difficult to truly quantify all of the great things this man has selflessly done for and on behalf of our men and women in uniform. He has also contributed many iconic and indelible characters on film that will live on forever. Gunnery Sergeant Hartman of Full Metal Jacket fame was a hard and principled man. The real Arlie Ermy was a family man and a kind and gentle soul. He was generous to everyone around him, and he especially cared deeply for others in need. There is a quote made famous in Full Metal Jacket. It is actually the rifleman's creed. "This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine. There are many gunnies, but this one was ours. And we will all honor his memory with hope and kindness. Please support your men and women in uniform. That's what he wanted most of all. Semper Fi, Gunny. Godspeed."
Everybody raise your glass. If you got one around. Toast.
Shots for Gunny.
Shots.
So Arlie Ermy had quite a life, man.
That he did. You talk about Full Metal Jacket. Did you ever see the movie Purple Hearts?
No, I have not.
It's actually not a greatly known movie. Um, it's about Vietnam, of course, and he actually was in that in one of the opening scenes where he's sitting there telling off a lieutenant for how he was trying to deal with his troops, and it went from that scene to a bunch of guys getting blown up to going to a field hospital, and that's what it was about. Was the doctors involved, but he was in the opening scene, and you just sheer, just through the night, you hear his voice. Well, I'll be goddamn, Lieutenant. Everybody, every swinging that dick out here knows you are a lieutenant. You do not have to wear your rank to prove that.
And he was kind of typecast into that kind of role. I mean, he played. He's done. He was the warden in SpongeBob SquarePants. He was what else did he do? He was in Toy Story. He was the commando character in Toy Story, and
Yep.
of course he did his mail call and all kinds of other things. Man, he was extremely active, but he was always the authoritative type of character.
And he did it distinguishedly. I mean, he never got to where he went and did something that was out of what's the word I'm looking for? In other words, he always showed distinguish and respect to who he was and for what he represented. And that's what you can always compliment him on, is he always carried that with good intention. It's not like he went and did something nasty and made that he was representing look bad.
No. Every character that I saw him play was always an honorable character. I don't think I could name all of his film efforts, but of all the ones that I've seen, he's always been the hard ass guy,
Exactly.
principled, just like his publisher said.
Well, and that's just it. You've got to. Yeah, I mean, he got his typecast, but he carried it well, and he was happy with it.
It was good. I mean, Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens got typecast, but
Yeah.
at least R. Lee Ermey got typecast into a good character, right?
Exactly.
So he was
And-
born. He
and
was born on.
Well,
Say again.
and again, he carried it well.
Yeah. So he was born in Kansas on March 24th, 1944. So he was 74 years old.
Wow.
He had 5 brothers.
Huh.
When he was 14, his family left Kansas and moved to. I might butcher this. Toppenish, Washington. Toppenish.
Toppenish.
As a teenager, Ermey often got in trouble with the local authorities, and he had been arrested twice for criminal mischief by the age of 17. After his arrest, the judge gave him a choice between joining the military and being sent to jail. Of course, Ermey chose the military. In 1961, at age 17, Ermey enlisted into the United States Marine Corps, where he went through recruit training in San Diego. For the first few years, he served in an aviation support field unit before becoming a drill instructor at India Company 3rd Recruit Training Battalion in San Diego. And he was assigned there from 65 to 67. Let me see. He served in Marine Wing Support Group 17 in Okinawa. And in 1968, he went to Vietnam. He spent 14 months there. Then after Vietnam, he spent the rest of his service back in Okinawa, where he was medically discharged as an E6 in 1972 because of injuries sustained during his service. In 2002, he received an honorary promotion to gunnery sergeant by the commandant of the Marine Corps. That's awesome, man. I mean, the guy had a really great life.
One can only hope that we can look back at our lives at the end of our chapter and smile and see what he sees.
Yeah. It's a sad loss, man. It's a really, it sucks to lose the good guys.
Yeah, and he will be missed. I mean, he always played good in those roles. He always held them up.
Yeah, we lost another one over this weekend. Art Bell died on Friday. I don't know if anybody knows. Art Bell used to run the Coast to Coast AM. He was syndicated on hundreds of radio stations. He did a lot of his shows are conspiratorial, like UFOs and that type of tinfoil stuff that we kind of model our Saturday show, Saturday Night Savagery, somewhat after.
I had read that, and actually we had mentioned that on Friday. But yeah, I mean, my wife used to listen to him. She said that she remembers him going off the air and not really being as regular because of health problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was 72.
All the good ones are starting to get there.
Well, you know how they say that they always come in threes.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it ain't you and me who's number 3.
Oh no, I hope not either.
You're still too young to even think that way, right?
I'd like to think that. Everyone thinks they're too young, or they're too young to kick the can.
Too young and too bulletproof.
So the story reads: longtime radio host Art Bell died Friday at his Pahrump home in Nye County. Bell's paranormal themed show Coast to Coast AM was syndicated on about 500 North American radio stations. He broadcast his show from his house.
Yep. Yeah, and I even remember listening to it with my wife. But like I said, I know he ended up going off, and it just didn't seem to carry as much. It
didn't. I mean, I listened to Coast to Coast AM sometimes, because it'd be on the weekends and it'd be late, so I'd crawl into bed and I'd flip on the radio and that would be on.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was interesting, and I was, then I'd pay attention, and other times it was silly, and I was just, I don't want to listen to that. But I guess for the most part, it was entertaining. It was entertaining, and he had a really great following. Let's see, Bell retired several times during his career, which included a short-lived show on Sirius XM in 2013. Returning to terrestrial radio afterward was not a difficult decision, he said. He goes, it was an easy decision to make because I love it. He had the time. He says, it's my life, and that's all that I've ever done. I went through a lot of family problems, so that interrupted things. And I was overseas for 4 years, and that certainly interrupted things. So I went back into radio because I loved it. Bell was inducted to the Nevada Broadcasters Association Hall of Fame in 2006. In 2008, he was inducted into the National Radio Hall of Fame. He was born in Jacksonville, Carolina, on June 17th, 1945. He is an Air Force veteran. He was a medic during the Vietnam War.
Imagine that, another military person with a tinfoil hat.
According to the Coast to Coast AM website, Bell was an FCC licensed radio technician at age 13. He also set the Guinness World Record for solo broadcast marathon with more than 116 hours while working as a DJ in Japan.
Wow.
That's a long time, dude.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Oh, and for you tinfoil hat people, who if you, I always put this out there just for fun. It's let's no longer call it tinfoil hat. There's an actual hat out there with material called Velostat. Just so you know, that has replaced tinfoil as the material of choice for those that have worries of microwaves in the head.
Has this been tested?
It has been tested. I actually saw a documentary on it.
On a Velostat hat.
Yes. Well, it was on Conspiracy Theory People, and this one person actually makes Velostat hats. They get Velostat material. It's not cheap, I guess, and they actually they put like several layers inside the hat, and then they put a nice hat liner so it doesn't stick to your head. And it's supposed to actually be better than any kind of tin foil there is to keeping radio waves outside of your head. And it's proven to actually intercept radio waves.
I'm just sitting here shaking my head, man.
I know. And there's a guy in California. If you look it up, you'll actually find him. He will actually, you can send him your hat, and he'll actually sew Velostat into it for you.
Okay. I mean, this is a free country, man. If you can spend your money on whatever you want to.
Hey, after working on a psychiatric ward and knowing some of the people I know, tell you what, you got to be informed. You got to keep up on stuff like this. I thought I'd throw that in just for a little bit of jovialty.
Well, speaking of batshit crazy, Simone Sanders, you know who that is?
Simone Sanders.
She's a CNN political commentator.
No, I don't know who that is.
She was also the press secretary for Bernie Sanders.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, she was briefly detained by police after an outburst at LaGuardia Airport. 28 years old, she was in line at the security checkpoint. TSA agents pulled her out for a random check, and then she started to curse them out in front of like the other passengers and children and whatnot. So she was escorted out of the terminal and briefly detained, and she was given a summons to appear in court for disorderly conduct.
Celebrity does not have its privileges, especially if you're not that well known.
Right. And this wasn't her first run-in. So she's had issues at airports in the past. American Airlines called the police on Sanders last year after an incident while she was trying to check her baggage minutes before the flight was to leave in Los Angeles. And she said she didn't want to pay full price for a new ticket despite being a frequent flyer of the airline. So the incident prompted customer service representatives to call authorities. After the incident was resolved, Sanders says that she made the flight on time and she didn't understand why they had to call the police.
Some people just don't know. I mean,
it's like it's an entitlement attitude.
Yeah, it's all about how much can you stick out rather than, I mean, in my time, you prided yourself on not being seen. Being seen meant that you probably were messing up. Being able to blend in and just enjoy the ride and not not get in trouble, not have your people noticing you. That's the way it was. It was, being able to just be there.
I kind of picture her at the airport pulling the "Do you know who I am?" And exactly. then the gate agents are going, "No, I don't know who you are." As if that would matter.
Yeah, yeah.
Because all those rules are across the board. There's, those rules are there for your safety, and you follow the instructions of the flight crew. So
Exactly. Nobody has privilege as much as people would like to think they do.
right.
Well, I have some interesting news. Are you a lover of candy?
Every once in a while, I'll eat some chocolate, and let me see. I like Skittles.
Have
But-
you ever heard of Necco wafers?
Yes, I love Necco wafers.
Well, the maker of colorful Necco wafers has experienced a surge in sales since announcing it might close unless it finds a buyer. And a Florida woman offered to exchange her 15-year-old car for one company's wafer inventory. Necco stands for New England Confectionery Company. It announced in March that 395 workers could be laid off if no buyer is found. That triggered a buying spree for wafer lovers. The Boston Globe reports 23-year-old Katie Samuels of Florida reached out to company wholesaler CandyStore.com to offer her 2003 Honda Accord for their wafer inventory.
So I understand this correctly. She wants to trade in her car for a bunch of candy.
For their inventory.
That might not be a bad thing.
And now, they've been producing since 1847.
Yeah, I remember. I like those things, man. I like the brown ones that are supposed to be chocolate flavored, and then and the minty flavored ones.
You can always go back. Those of us who could remember matinees and such, those were one of the things that was always cheap that you could get that would give you something to suck on during the movie.
Phrasing, dude.
It gave you something to do when you were in the movie where you weren't talking.
Right. So you crunch loudly on these damn wafers.
But I just found that interesting. I didn't know Necco Wafers was having problems. But on top of it, a lady offered her 2003 Honda for their wafer inventory.
I mean,
she must really think highly of her car.
Well, and from a business standpoint, she can get the entire inventory, and then she can sell them online for a marked up price, and then buy another car.
That's true. I mean, I didn't think of it the business side of it, but some people are hoarders. They'd keep it just because. If you're really into Necco wafers.
I mean, really. I mean, if they have a massive inventory, and if the company's going down anyway.
Oh, Samuels did manage to buy 4 dozen rolls of the wafers, but they didn't take her car.
Did they say in that article what the company's being sold for?
No price yet. I think that's more of it's a side note than anything. They didn't put any, and I looked. There's nothing more about.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders joins us from the White House lawn this morning. Sarah, thank you for joining us. A lot to talk about
What's
this
that?
morning. Good morning.
Is that you?
Sorry, that was me. Ads.
I hate those pop under automatic video playing whatever.
As soon as I opened up for it to look for a little bit more, I got more than I wanted.
Well, you had me looking at all my stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't have any browsers open. So
yeah. That's the one I want. I found a whole bunch of more interesting articles here and there, but that one, everybody loves candy. And especially as kids, I know some of us older guys can remember the matinees and going on Saturdays to a matinee, our parents' way of getting rid of us for a couple hours. and being able to just go and, they'd hand us a couple bucks for the movie and some candy, and off we went. I mean, I can remember going back and seeing Willy Wonka for the first time when it came out.
Yeah, those are. I mean, it's an old ass company, and it's like old time candy. So
Yeah,
I guess
I mean,
the older generation would like that. I don't know if the young folks gobbled up the Necco wafers.
Can you think of what was back when you were a kid? What were the candies that you had to have in a matinee?
I like the chocolate covered raisins, popcorn, obviously, and snow caps.
Okay, that doesn't sound bad. I believe it or I like the hot tamales because of the cinnamon. I was a cinnamon lover, and of course, popcorn. I mean, you got to have your popcorn.
With a half a gallon of that fake ass butter.
Oh, you always had to have that butter, and you had it all over the place by the end of the show.
Right?
How many napkins you brought?
They've got the shittiest napkins, man. They're like super duper thin.
Oh yeah,
they come apart in your hand.
You rub and you go through how many of them, and you still only manage to get half of it.
Right.
And it's all over your face. And so that's maybe you're a quarter away into the movie and you're going, oh God, I need to go clean my face. But you don't.
I'm always guilty of like eating, I'll go, I'll pay for my ticket, stand in line, with me and the kids or whatever. We'll get popcorn, and the kids like the sour atomic whatever gummy worms or whatever those sour things are. And
yeah,
I'll get a big ass thing of popcorn and a gallon and a half of Coke, and I'll like completely. I'll get through like 75% of all the snacks before the freaking movie starts.
Well, anymore you have to go early, because if it's a movie worth going to, unless you go to a matinee during the week, you just don't know if you're going to get in. And so you got to go a little bit early to make sure you get that ticket, and then you want to get the right seat. And
I haven't actually gone to a theater to see a movie since American Sniper.
Really?
Yep. And the next movie that I go and see is going to be Super Troopers 2.
I was going to say, I bet you I know the next one.
Yep.
Now, are you going to be one of those people that try to see it when it comes out right away?
No. No, I've got a job.
Yeah, that's true. We do have to work.
So to use the owl speak, I'll probably catch a matinee on a weekend sometime.
Yes, the old man speaks about old times.
So today's April 15th.
Yes, it is.
Which is typically tax day, but today's Sunday.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I got my taxes done early this year.
I did too, man. As soon as I got all my documents in, I did it right away.
So what is it? I guess they've got an extension till tomorrow or the 17th?
17th.
I thought so.
And there's a reason for that.
So do you know the reason?
I do.
Okay. So what is it?
Every year since 1955, taxes have been due on April 15th, except for sometimes, like in the last 2 years and in this year as well. Tax day falls on April 17th. That's the deadline for filing your 2017 tax returns. The last day to make a contribution to an individual retirement account for it to count against 2017 income. The deadline to file a tax extension and the day when quarterly estimated tax payments are due for those who make their payments like that. Basically, the 15th today is a Sunday, and there's a holiday tomorrow in Washington, D.C. It's Emancipation Day.
Interesting.
Yeah, the national capital celebrates Emancipation Day to mark the date that President Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves in 1862.
Wow. Okay.
So that's why they pushed it to the 17th. The same thing happened last year, except it got pushed off until the 18th. Tax day.
Okay. So those of you who are waiting till the last minute, don't forget to get it in the mail.
You've got another day. See, I didn't know until I read. I thought, okay, taxes. Everyone's going to be. It's going to be on the news. They're going to have all these news crews at the damn at all the post office waiting. At like midnight. Waiting. Have people drive through and try to get that stamp on their envelope.
Oh yeah.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders
there you
joins
go
us
again.
from the White House Lawn this morning.
They keep popping up when I go to an article. I apologize. And I'm using my left hand, not my right hand. So I can't get to it as quick. I was reading an article, and I'll try to get back to it. I'll have to get back to it. I don't want to trigger this stuff.
See, I've never understood why people wait till the last minute to file their taxes.
Neither have I. I've always been really good about at least a month ahead of time, if not further ahead. Being that now I have my wife has a corporation that we work with. That John Al falls under, and my recordings fall under. It's a little bit different. We actually have 2 dates we have to file under. Did you know with corporate, you actually have to file March 15th?
Didn't know that.
And then your regular taxes on April 15th.
Yeah. If those are the rules.
So, no, you learn stuff like that as you go along. The stuff you learn when you decide to get busy. Speaking of busy, and an interesting little thing that I read or watched and read up on, did you know that there is a train in Alabama that has been sitting for over a year holding sewage in this little dinky town? Nobody could figure out what to do with it.
Where was it going?
That's the problem. Is it was on its way to where it was coming through out of state, and on its way through, some technicalities came up, and they stopped the train in this one town, and the town couldn't do anything about it for over a year because they didn't have the rules to get it out. And so it sat there, and they said the whole town was basically, the smell emanated through the whole town.
I was wondering if it was sealed up pretty good, or if it was stinking up the place.
No, it was stinking up the place bad. They finally got some city rules in place to get the waste company to get rid of it.
Ooh, that's a nasty job, dude. I bet you they had all the lowest on the totem pole employees doing that.
Well, here's the funny part. Okay. They went to the waste management company and said, well, what are you going to do with it? And they said, oh, we're going to find a township that doesn't, a town or an area that doesn't have such a high population or a, high land. In other words, high density of people. So therefore, we won't have as many problems getting rid of this.
So they're looking for looser regulations.
Exactly. And they actually stated it. You're just in there going, oh my God.
Well, at least they didn't beat around the bush.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
It's kind of weird when you actually hear the truth and you believe it.
I know. I just sat there going, wow, this is ballsy. And the PR, I mean, the PR person, I'm sure someone's sitting there going, what the hell is she doing?
How are we going to spin this? Well, we're not. And you wonder, I mean, if it's since it's been sitting so long, you just kind of, I mean, you got to wonder how many pathogens and diseases are just sloshing around in that thing.
It's scary. It's a scary thought, and I mean, I that's kind of what drew me to. I'm just sitting there going. They said the poop train, and I'm sitting going, okay, this has my attention. And it was an interview. That's the reason I can't get exacts, because I'd have to play the interview. But they just sat there, and they're talking about it. I'm going, oh my God! And the PR or the company's representative just sits there and goes in. No, we're looking for a place that we can take it that basically are saying so that can't do crap about it. Like my words, huh?
Mm-hmm. Well, it'll be interesting to see where that ends up, and then you're going to probably see a half price rail car. On eBay or something.
Yeah, no kidding.
Lightly used sewage handler.
Oh God. And these things are big, and the way the construction of these are very hard-walled tanks.
Well, apparently the seals don't work too well if it's stinking.
Well, that's the thing, is they have to have vents.
Yeah,
otherwise you have a buildup of gas inside.
Boom! Oh, dude, that would make a mess.
Because if one goes off, they all go off. And they had at the time of this interview 80-some cars left. They had 5 times that when they first pulled up with it.
Okay, so this isn't just one car that has sewage in it. This is several containers of sewage.
We're talking right now, and this is after they've gotten rid of over 5 times, or in other words, they've gotten rid of. We're talking somewhere around 500 of them.
Oh God.
Okay, they're down to 80-some.
Well, it's a step in the right direction.
I found that one interesting. And then I ran into one for our boss, Ice. A chili grower defended the world's hottest pepper called the Carolina Reaper, following a report about a man who was hospitalized after eating the extreme spicy fruit at a contest.
I read this story. This was in my list.
This is for you, Ice. Salvatore Genovese, who grows the world's hottest chili on his British farm, told Sky News on Sunday the pepper needs to be correctly cooked and eaten to prevent health problems. Note that, please, Ice. We have sold in the past couple of years or so over 500,000 Carolina Reapers, and I have never had any knowledge of any complaint of anyone having to be hospitalized. He told Sky News, it's not really designed to just plonk into your mouth and eat it. I would never do that, and I wouldn't recommend it. And he goes on into, let's see. A report last week by a British medical journal detailed a 34-year-old man's mistake of biting into the so-called Carolina Reaper, which led to his hospitalization. The man, who was not identified, ate the pepper at a 2016 chili eating contest in upstate New York. After he ingested the chili, he began dry heaving and developed intense neck and head pain that spread from his back to his head. He also had thunderclap headaches, described as blinding pain that would last seconds at a time. The man was diagnosed with reversible cerebral vasoconstriction syndrome, a temporary brain condition caused by the narrowing of blood vessels.
You know, and I'd like to see a picture of him. It's like and then you make it a meme, and you're like, it was at that moment that Bob realized he fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm not in. You know, I've used. Let me see. I've used Carolina Reapers in cooking, but like a very small amount. You know, when I make chili, I've never been. I've never felt the need to just bite into it because those things are hot, dude.
Well, and I've never been into spices hardcore. I mean, maybe sometimes I'll use a little cayenne pepper, but I just really have never been one to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't try to challenge my digestive system like that.
Right. I mean, because it's gotta come out.
Exactly.
You know?
I mean, I can remember learning the lessons over in Europe when they sit there and say, "Hey, you got to try this."
Well, you know what? I think the hottest thing I ever had, it was in Korea, and it was we'd go to a Korean restaurant and you'd eat ramen, and they'd have this big plop in the middle of it. Had it was like a pepper paste, and that was some hot stuff.
And see, Ice will sit there and give you his story about his Korean friend at work who made him some special kimchi with his peppers.
Wasn't that his barber? The lady that cuts his hair?
Yes, his barber.
So to bring this into perspective, right now the Carolina Reaper is the hottest pepper on record. And it's got an average Scoville heat rating of like 1.5 million and some change.
Wow.
But there's two more peppers out there that haven't been. The Carolina Reaper is in the Guinness Book of World Records as being the hottest pepper. There's two more applicants to that. The Dragon's Breath pepper, which has an average Scoville rating of 2.4 million. And then a pepper called Pepper X, pepper the letter X, which registers at 3.18 million Scoville heat units.
Wow.
So that Pepper X is almost three times hotter than the Reaper. So I mean, at some point, it's like when it gets cold outside, at some point, it just doesn't freaking matter anymore. Like if you get below 20, below zero, it's just the rest, it doesn't matter. Or if it's 100 degrees, it just, it could be 120. It just doesn't matter.
What happens when you're a cop and over half a ton of weed?
That's not supposed to happen. I was looking up an article that was about some police. I think you probably ran into the same one. The police that actually blame mice for eating 1,000 pounds of marijuana.
Dude.
And it was part of evidence, and it vanished, and the police officers blamed mice.
I don't know if I buy that.
I can't read the article because you heard what happened. They have their nice ads.
Where'd all this marijuana go? The mice ate it.
I know. I just sitting there going, this is Super Trooper material right there.
Johnson, you mean to tell me that mice ate all that dope?
I mean, come on. That you just have to. If I had seen that, I would have loved to have just sat there and said, "Okay." On Friday with you go. Just to put this in perspective of how police act.
That's a bunch of very hungry mice. How much dope did they go through?
1,000 pounds.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I Excuse me. I had a good time with that one.
Was it in like an evidence room or?
Yes.
Okay.
It was in an evidence room, locked up for an upcoming case, and it just vanished.
Like overnight, huh?
Yeah.
I don't buy that for a minute.
I would hope nobody would buy that for a minute. Oh. Oh, I'm in a good mood.
So what are they going to do, man? I think they ought to. I think they need to piss test everybody in the police department first of all.
Well, yeah, they said that they were going into investigation. Like I couldn't read the article because again, you heard the pop up. It was doing an animation of police officers arresting mice. But I mean, yeah, from what I had gleaned from it, they were in investigation as to the officers involved who were supposed to be the officers in charge of the
evidence
room,
locker.
Yeah, the evidence room, and the only excuse that they could come up with was the mice ate it.
Yeah, pull the videotape.
Exactly. And that's where you got to wonder. I didn't see if it was a small town, but you have to wonder, was it a small enough town one that there's a chance that there was no cameras involved?
No, I think you'd think that there would be freaking cameras in.
Yeah, you would hope, right?
Yeah.
Especially in evidence room. I mean, the places that you want cameras in a police station, in the front door where everybody comes into the front desk, and the evidence room for chain of custody.
Right.
So it's like either these guys knew to turn the cameras off, or they were that dumb in thinking. In other words, they were Cheech and Chong material.
I think we ought to get Jason and Charlie in on this and say, "Hey, man."
Exactly.
I don't know. Mice get into some crazy things, and they eat just about anything.
Yeah. Shoot. Mice will eat. They have actually proven mice can eat metal, will get through metal. They get through cement, rebar, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, we had an aircraft that used to belong to Wayne Huizinga. He used to be the owner of the Miami Dolphins. We had his helicopter, and we were brokering it for him. So it was sitting in the hangar for a while. The State Department came and they said they wanted to fly it out to New Mexico for some stuff. So they leased it from us for a period of time, about 10 days or so, and it came back. The pilot said that the air conditioner didn't seem to be working that well. So we opened up a work order, started looking at the air conditioning system, and sure enough, it wasn't blowing very well. So we started to expose all the air conditioning ducting, and there were a bunch of holes in it, like chewed up holes in several sections of the AC piping, and it also there's a bunch of wires that got chewed through, and I think things could have ended very badly on that aircraft. But we ended up. I think that repair cost almost $100,000.
Ouch.
To get all new ducting for the air conditioning system. So those things can do some damage, man. And what it was is there's a lot of field mice in the desert. So they, and it was a wheeled aircraft. So when the wheels are down, the mice have some place to get up into.
Oh yeah, they have a place to go nest. It's out of sight and out of harm's way, and it was sitting long enough. They figured, hey, new nest.
Yeah, they chewed through a bunch of. It was an Augusta 139, and Augusta has this aluminum tape that they put through. They put on their bulkheads, and it's fibrous. It's like 100-mile-an-hour tape, but it's made of aluminum.
Ooh.
So you can't tear it.
Yeah.
But it's real tough stuff, and they just chewed right through that stuff.
And exactly, Heath. Mice will eat the insulation non-charged electrical. Yeah, they don't go for. They're smart enough not to go for the charge. But yeah, they will eat anything that looks like it could possibly get them somewhere or sounds good to eat.
Or if they break it apart and make a little apartment out of it.
Yep, exactly. But no, I found that article. After hearing the interview on Friday, I just sat there going, I could almost see that in something like Super Troopers.
Mm-hmm.
Where did all the marijuana go?
Well, I'll drop them. We can have our social media people or our front desk people reach out to Eric Stolhansky. Go, hey, Super Troopers 3. Here's an idea.
Something to just throw in there for fun. It's real. It happened. Oh, the things people do and the excuses. You'd expect an excuse like that out of a kid, but come on, people.
And you got to think, if you've got a couple of crooked cops and they're thinking, okay, how are we going to explain this? And that was the best excuse that they could come up with. Yeah, man, they'll buy that.
Yeah. That's where you sit there and go, okay, there's a reason he was working in with the evidence locker and not out in the field.
So working in the evidence room, is that where they put the scrubs?
I'm guessing
the lower performing officers.
Yeah, in other words, it goes along with desk duty. Those who are maybe they're flagged, maybe they have profile. In other words, just it doesn't mean you're lower thinking, but it may just mean that, hey, it could be someone who got hurt or someone who's on administrative because they're investigating something.
Yeah.
That desk duties where they have to put them, they're not allowed to interact with people at that point.
We interviewed a police officer. She's down in Houston. What's her name? Carrasquillo. And she was shot in the head by a perp, and she was on desk duty for a while, and she got sick and tired of it because she wanted to be out in the field.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I don't blame her. I mean, just sitting behind a desk can get very old very quick, especially when you like being out.
Exactly. I mean, if you're and it's like being in the military. If you're broke and you're mending, I mean, you don't want to, especially if you're on a contact team or if have one of them badass spec ops type jobs. You don't. Those folks don't want to be sitting around and recovering. They want to be out doing shit.
Yep. Want to be out there with their brothers, joining in and kicking ass,
or at least contributing.
Exactly. Now I hear you are hoping to be done house hunting soon.
Yes. I put a bid in on a house, or an offer. I guess they call it an offer.
And are you planning to get a cleaning lady?
I'm not.
Because there is now a cleaning service that does nude cleaning.
Nude cleaning. Tell me about this. I didn't see this story. Are they in Texas?
I'm going to click on it. So hopefully nothing, no little bombs go off here. It's nude cleaning ladies, and they're of a different nature. Apparently, they reject slim cleaning ladies applications in favor of something a little different, a little bit normal looking women who will actually do the work rather than have to worry about being touched.
So this is someone's business model, and it's really not that bad. I mean, when I was let's see, where was I? Was it Fort Campbell? I was in we had a guy, and we, you know how you talk with your brothers, and you're just like, yeah, if we win the lottery, or if I win the lottery, this is what I'm going to do with the money. This dude, his name is Lawrence Ellington. He was at Hood. He was at Hood. No,
Okay.
was it? I can't remember if it was Hood or Campbell. It doesn't matter. Anyway, he said that he wanted. It had to be Campbell because we had the Cat West Show Bar across from our gate, which is Gate 8, to get into Campbell. So across the street and down the road a little ways is the Cat West Show Bar, which is a full nude BYOB strip club. And he wanted to open up a nude car wash next door to it.
Hey, if it works, it works, right?
And it was great, and I can remember this conversation like it was yesterday because he had it. I mean, his business plan was in his head, and it worked, and he communicated it well. He's just like, yeah, just everyone, all these bikini type models or even dancers from the club can go out there and wash cars. These car washes are going to cost you, $25, and you get to sit in the car while it's being washed, and like if you want to, and you can add in, if you want the girls to have a soap fight, that's like an extra $10, or if you want them to, rub their chest on your windows, it's another $10 or $20, and then you're supposed to tip and show gratuity. He had it, dude. He had it all working out in his head.
The downside of that, and unfortunately I've seen it around here where they've had the topless stuff and those type of things, is always you have to worry about the city councils and their ability to find ways to shut you down.
Yeah, because
they'll come up with zoning laws like you won't believe.
Well, it was already in an area that when he talked about that, because it was already zoned as an entertainment area.
Oh, well,
and it would be right next to that nude bar. So I guess
possibilities
in his head it would work out.
Not a bad deal. Well, with that, we are at the top of the hour.
We are. How about that? All right, folks. I guess we'll take a short break here. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. We got a couple more stories. I've got a couple more stories to touch on. So come on back in a couple of minutes. Stand up, stretch your legs, grab a fresh beverage, and we'll be back.
WTF Nation Radio.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Trying to tell myself it was for the best.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
And that was a quick break. And we're back. This is Kicking It with Kaz and Owl on this lovely, very lovely Sunday evening.
Losing track of days?
A little bit, yeah. My weeks are kind of scrambled up and thrown off. So,
well, we are on a Sunday, and it is in the evening.
So I got that right. That's awesome.
Yes, you
did. You know how we talked about the passing of Arlie Ermy, and,
yes,
and Art Bell, and it seems that Barbara Bush is having some health issues right now, and the office of George H.W. Bush released a statement that says, following a recent series of hospitalizations and after consulting her family and doctors, Mrs. Bush, age 92, has decided not to seek additional medical treatment and will instead focus on her comfort. It will not surprise those who know that Barbara Bush has been a rock in the face of her failing health, worrying not for herself, thanks to her abiding faith, but for others. She's surrounded by a family that she adores, and she appreciates the many kind messages and especially the prayers that she is receiving. So it would seem that that Barbara Bush doesn't have much time left on this earth.
No, and she was always a rock and a strong lady. Has been there for her husband quite a bit. She's always, when you always see him, you always saw her behind him with a smile and trying to be strong.
And from what I remember, she was a classy lady, a classy first lady.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't try to pull the spotlight on herself as much as she tried to embody how the office is. It's supposed to be, it is the presidency. It's not about who can draw the most attention. She was always a good lady. I mean, look at, she always represented, also embodied family.
Wasn't she the Just Say No first lady? Just Say No to Drugs? I think she was.
I'm not sure if it was Barbara or Miss Reagan.
Oh,
Nancy.
I think you're right. It might have been Nancy Reagan.
I was going to say, I think that started under the Reagan administration.
I wonder. I'm trying to remember, and this is how low key she was. I can't remember, like with Michelle Obama. She's the school, the school lunches. That was her big thing.
Yeah. Barbara, what she did was more in the background, and she didn't try to make it a big noise about it. Mm-hmm. Even Nancy, with what she did, wasn't trying to always make a big noise. Every president's wife usually picks up a cause and uses the clout that a president's wife, the office, carries to promote something. Mm-hmm. And, I think hers was along in the medical lines, more around cancer stuff. If I can't remember.
Well, yeah, that'll be a sad day. I think, I think they're living down in the Houston area. I don't know that for a fact, though.
Yeah, I do know they're in Texas. I mean, that's where the family basically kind of lives.
Yeah, I know George W. is in the Dallas area.
Yeah. She had 5 children. And she and George met when she was 19 and he was 20. And they were married in 1945.
Dude. Arlie Ermy was 1.
Just think about that. I mean, I was born in 63. So that's before me, and they were married.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
92. That's up there, man. She's had a full life.
oh yeah. She really has, and she's carried herself in a very dignified way. I mean, I can appreciate someone like her for the fact that she has stayed. She isn't one of these women that was out there to be high drama or high, wanted everybody's attention.
No, I mean she supported her husband. So that's
and Amanda's pointing out, yeah, she did cancer-associated help things.
Barbara did
in that during her husband's administration.
Barbara or Nancy?
Probably
Barbara. Okay.
I think Amanda meant Barbara did. So.
And George H.W., I mean, up until last year, he's always gone parachuting on his birthday.
Yeah, he's been trying to hold it together up until the last year. You really didn't see him lagging, but now you see him in a wheelchair and you see him really kind of broke down.
Right.
Which is sad to see, and I know that's got to be hard on him. And I mean, unfortunately, the allegations that came out with the Me Too stuff, you just don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
And that's kind of sad, especially at his age, to have stuff like that come around. And how do you really defend yourself?
Right.
So
it's doubly hard having the woman who you've been married to.
Exactly.
For this long in failing health.
Well, God bless you, Mrs. Bush, and I hope with the treatment option that you're taking that you go down with comfort and that you go with people around you smiling.
Yeah, the family's very, very supportive, and plus she has a huge, she doesn't go out and search for a fan base, but she's very well respected.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, she, I always looked at her as kind of like Nancy Reagan was. Nancy Reagan had quite a following too. People saw her as respected and distinguished, and I saw Barbara the same way. I mean, you can just look at her and say, yeah, that's a mom.
Right.
I mean, it's silly as that sounds. You those type of women who actually just emanate that I'm a mom figure or I'm a grandmother figure, and that's it. And there's no bigger compliment than that.
No, there's not. So I've got two stories that I'm sitting on, and I don't know which one to do first.
Well, which one would give yourself a good laugh?
Well, one is more amusing than the other. I don't think they make me laugh. A recent study has found that, remember back in the day, and you probably remember this, you'd go to the bathroom at school, and there would be, you wash your hands, and then there would be that cloth towel dispenser you pull down.
Yeah.
You dry your towel, or you dry your hands off on the towel, and then the next person would pull it to the next clean section, and then do that. Well, they got rid of that, and then they went to paper towels.
Yeah.
And then they graduated from paper towels to the hot air dryers.
Yeah.
You push the button and you get bacon.
Yeah.
Well, a recent study found that the hand dryers are pretty gross. A study by scientists at the University of Connecticut found hair dryers in men's and women's bathroom blew bacteria onto hands, including fecal matter.
Yeah, and okay, I don't know. Do you watch The Big Bang?
I have never seen The Big Bang.
Okay, that is actually brought up in the show. Sheldon, one of the characters, is a germaphobe, And it's actually brought up in one of the shows where the lady sat there and said, well, you can dry your hands with a dryer. He says, you might as well dry my hands with a sneezing, germ-riddled gibbon. And he's right, because all that machine has to suck in air. And so it's going to suck in the air around it to push through. And so anything that's airborne, and people don't realize, here's the fun part, when you pee, your pee can fly airborne even though you hit the mark up to 6 feet around you.
Yeesh.
Yeah. Okay. And then, okay, fecal matter, not quite as airborne, if it's solid, but if it's not solid, it can be just as bad as pee.
Ugh.
And then how many people go in there and they sneeze and they hack and get it all out because they're around someone they want to impress?
So
so they're doing that in the sinks. They're doing that. They're wiping their noses, sneezing in front of the mirrors. All that in those bathrooms. Those bathrooms are coated with germs.
So the study was published in the Applied Environmental Microbiology Journal, and scientists came to the conclusion after they placed data gathering plates under the hand dryers in 36 bathrooms at the University of Connecticut's campus. The researchers said that they placed the plates under the dryers for 30 seconds and found between 18 and 60 different colonies of bacteria on each plate.
Doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. When I worked in a hospital, and even in field units, part of you have to be always, as a medic or as a psychiatric specialist, you always have to be aware of germs. And they would actually, part of the program is they'd actually have us wipe our hands on a specially treated paper. And then for the next hour, they do a lecture and you do stuff. And then they'd turn off the lights and turn on black lights. And you would see everywhere you touched for that hour.
Wow.
It wasn't pretty.
In the study, they also mentioned that the Dyson. Have you ever seen the Dyson hair dryers in bathrooms? Yes. They said that those are the best because they have HEPA filters on them.
Yep.
But the ones that they did test were still, blowing out little microorganisms, but it wasn't as much.
Well, yeah, and that's okay. It goes back to a choice in life. You can be scared of bacteria or learn to help yourself from getting the too much, but realizing that if you aren't exposed to some bacteria, when you're actually exposed to bacteria, you're going to get sick.
Right. I mean, I keep my hands clean. I wash my hands a couple times during the day and every time after I use the bathroom. But it's really it's interesting that we have folks in the lab that I work in. They use that antibacterial gel.
Yeah.
But and I heard that those that's not good for you because it kills the good bacteria too.
It does. It not only it's not good for the skin because and that's what kills the good bacteria. It actually can cause breakdown in the skin. It goes to the point when you get older, not my age, don't try to put me in geriatric yet. But as you get older, at some point they actually advise older people not to take a shower every day. Because soap can actually break your skin down. And the older you get, the less the less resilience your skin has.
I can see that. Yeah. I also read. I think maybe we're reading the same damn articles, but it's they talked about razors.
Oh.
Keeping razors, for like shaving your legs or skin or whatever you do, to not keep them in the shower.
Yeah, it's not the best to keep them in the shower because you've, again, all the germs all the skin cells that you shed in the shower, and the shower is normally close to the toilet. So everything that's going off of the toilet, and the toilet's normally close to your sink, and everything that's coming from your toothbrush and everything else is making its way into that shower.
Dude, you're making me into a germaphobe now. Fucking stop it.
I after working in a hospital, you have that choice of becoming a germaphobe or coming to the realization that you can be a germaphobe in life and be scared of germs, or realize that the only way you build a resistance is to expose yourself.
And I've heard my ex-sister-in-law is a doctor, and she also talked about the reason that kids are developing illnesses now is because they are overprescribed antibiotics, because parents will see, little Bobby's got a runny nose and he's coughing, so they go to the doctor and they ask for some kind of an antibiotic.
Yep.
That they don't need. They just need to go through the illness and let the body heal itself.
Well, that's part of it. Yeah, I'll go with that 100%. Antibiotics, they're trying to back off of prescribing them now. Pediatricians are finally starting to do that. Mm-hmm. For the longest time, they'd prescribe it at the drop of a hat because, well, it's there and it's quick and it shuts the parents up.
Yeah, and it's really easy to just say, okay, you get a Z-Pack. There you go.
Exactly. But the other half of this, and this goes back to snowflakes, is parents don't send their kids out to play. You got to be exposed to stuff. The way your immune system keeps you from getting sick is to be active.
Go play in the dirt.
Yeah. I mean, go get muddy. Go get yourself exposed to something lightly. Your body will fight it off, especially when you're young. Your body has that ability to just boom, kick in. I mean, when you get, when I've gone through the stuff that I've gone through, you don't realize how much your immune system does for you until you've almost lost your immune system. And to actually get my immune system back, I had to be willing to get near stuff that I knew could make me sick.
I think I've been blessed with a decent enough immune system. I mean, folks around me get sick all the time, and I've been, I dodged the bullet this year with, I didn't come down with the flu. Like almost everybody in my lab took a few days off because they were sick.
Well, and some people are blessed with a good immune system, and quite honestly, being in the military, as long as you didn't get exposed to certain vaccinations, and I won't go into that, a lot of times your immune system, actually, you end up with a fairly hyped up immune system. As long as you come out, not too far one way or the other. The other part that affects it is stress. If you are overstressed, your immune system can actually crash.
Yeah. I mean, because your body's going to put the energy towards something else, which is your stress. Well,
yeah, the mind. People don't realize you can be so stressed. This goes into, okay, I'm ADHD. Okay, there's a difference between ADD and ADHD. ADD means you can't concentrate. ADHD means you have a lot of energy and you can't concentrate. Okay. If I get fixated on things, I literally get so fixated, I will become anxious, I will become hyper-focused, and I will actually get to the point where I will put my body into overdrive to where I'll actually lose weight over 1 or 2 days. Just because I put so much of my brain into action, it actually pushes my body into hyper mode. And it people can do that. And being in the military, we get the whole adrenaline rush all the time, especially if you've been in battle or if you've even been exposed to bombings. That's going to set you off. But the whole idea is the immune system can be compromised by anxiety, by even just the mind. Because if you allow, depression can compromise your immune system because you get so depressed that you actually stop producing what you need to, because you have the mind, they don't even know fully how some of this works, but somehow you manage to even stop producing certain hormone chemical reactions.
Yeah, I wish I understood it more, but I do. I understand what you're saying.
You know, when I went through what I went through with my problems, I mean, even getting a cold could lead, or shoot, even getting having an allergic reaction or a cold could send me into pneumonia within a week. Having such a low, because I had so many problems with pain, and my pain tolerances were pushed so far that my body was compensating and not able to hold up the immune system. So the immune system is it can be very delicate, but it has to be exposed. With kids, you have to expose them. You have to get them out there. Playing in the dirt, going and roughhousing, scraping their knee, climbing the trees, doing the stupid stuff. One, that's how they're going to learn, but two, that exposes their body to pathogens that are out there that you wouldn't come in contact with in a house that has HEPA filters and is hermetically sealed.
Yeah.
You just don't get exposed to anything.
Yeah, get your kids involved in sports, man. Hang out in a damn high school locker room, man. You'll get exposed to some stuff. Have them go play on a wrestling mat. Ugh.
I can remember, this is how it dates me somewhat. Excuse me. I can remember I went to an elementary school that still had, and okay, women, you're going to sit here and laugh about this. We still had urinals that were as tall as the kids, and they were down to the floor and usually as tall as the tallest sixth grader. And I can remember having guys, come on, pee tests, or not pee tests, pee contests to see who could get the farthest back and still get it in. And as silly as that sounds, all the stuff that you're exposed to in being a kid is what makes your immune system as strong as you are now.
And that never, and it goes away, man. You have to always be somewhat exposed, even as an adult.
You have to go out and do stuff. Being locked up inside is not going to be helpful to you. Even me with my problems, I insist on getting out and doing things, even though it's not fun sometimes. Doing it, as far as setup and stuff, I go out and I go camping. Going out and doing stuff, exposing yourself to stuff, being around people is it's going to mentally get your brain functioning. It's going to keep you up. It's going to engage you, and it's going to expose you so that your immune system will engage. What do you think? I mean, that a lot of people, I don't know if you understand really what an inoculation is. A vaccine is exposing, well, okay, not as much anymore. Now they use synthetic vaccines, but it used to be vaccines were a small dose of whatever they're trying to inoculate you against.
Yeah, so your body can build up an immunity.
Exactly. That's where you would hear kids. They'd be back in my day. They'd be inoculated with a flu virus. Well, there were kids that got the flu from it because it was a live vaccine. Back then, that's all you had. You didn't have the synthetics. Now you've got the synthetics or the dormants, so therefore they're not as likely to cause a reaction to where you end up with what you were being inoculated against.
But this year's flu shot was horrible. I mean, they said I think the actual shot was like 20% effective, and then the nose spray, which was an inoculation, was like 4% effective.
Well, and that people don't understand. The CDC and everybody that's involved in getting together what you are supposed to be vaccinated for has to do it 9 months to a year ahead of time. So they're guessing what you're going to be exposed to. And that's all they can do, because the companies that actually make the vaccines, they have to, one, come up and incubate them, then synthesize them, then mass produce them.
Are they still? I know they used to incubate them in eggs, in chicken eggs.
That's when you're going for live,
right? But now I guess they're doing it differently.
Yes, but it still takes 9 months, sometimes as long as a year, depending on the vaccine.
You know, Heath he made an old man comment. And he says all you need is mercurochrome or methylene.
Mercurochrome or methylene.
I remember my grandmother had mercurochrome.
See, it doesn't ring a bell to me.
I don't remember ever taking it. I remember taking some stuff that was it was really, really nasty. It was like black syrupy. I think that was mercurochrome.
And see, that's where I was kind of lucky. My mother was actually a nurse. And so she was usually pretty up on that type of stuff. She actually was very careful with me about vaccines, because she actually found out what they put in vaccines as far as the preservatives, even back then.
Well, back then it was mercury and
exactly. They didn't stop doing mercury until the 90s. Back then, there were even higher doses and even more toxins in it. So yeah, there's back and forth in that, and I mean, you can get into conspiracy theories with that, and especially with me, it kind of goes near and dear to my heart because my son's autistic, and I talk to other parents who are autistic, and some of the stories that I hear from them are heartbreaking, and I can relate to them. Some parents, and I don't want to bring my son into this, so I'll just go as some parents have sat there and told me that their children acted perfectly normal, perfectly fine for the first month or two of their life, and then they went in for one of those big vaccine weeks at the doctors where they give them like 6 or 7 vaccines all at once, and within a week, their kid changed.
Yeah,
and you can't,
it's very coincidental.
Yes, it's very coincidental. Mine even goes a little bit further, but so do some of these where their kids actually ended up hospitalized. And it's because of the protection that the vaccine companies have. We won't know the truth, and we have to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of, anti-vaxxers out there.
Yeah, and, I understand them. I think there should be alternatives. If anything, allow them to go to the live vaccines as much as they're trouble inside of themselves. At least you're not being exposed to the preservatives involved. That's my thought. It's kind of a scary thing when you can't account, when the government is not willing to be more proactive on that side of it. And I understand the reasoning is because if you actually hold these companies' feet to the fire, you won't have anybody making vaccines. It's simple as that.
Yeah, I guess I guess it's a smart thing to. I mean, the measles, mumps, rubella, the MMR shot.
There are some that I agree with. That really
polio.
Yeah, polio is there are some that I agree with that need to be there, and there are some that I think are way overdone.
See, HPV was a big one because I've got 2 daughters.
Yeah,
and their pediatrician was pushing HPV, and when it first came out, I was just reading all of the adverse effects, more so than other shots.
Yes.
And so we chose not to get them vaccinated against for HPV. My daughter chose when she became an adult to go and get it.
Well, and that's her choice, and that's good that you gave her that ability. Okay, you made the choice, and then of course she made her choice when she got older, and that's her right, and that's a good thing. I saw both sides of the coin on the HPV. I still have my back and forth on that. Because it's become such a prevalent virus, it is kind of dangerous now.
Now what about shingles? A lot of folks are getting, I've got a lot of friends in the medical field, not just here in the station, but like here, just at work. Folks are really, really suggesting to get the shingles vaccine.
Well, and it goes back to, what was it, chicken pox? Or it was the chicken pox.
It's chicken pox. If you had chicken pox, it can reoccur.
Yeah, basically chicken pox, it's if you had chicken pox, you are at a high risk to get shingles. And I've actually known friends of mine who were in their 70s, 80s, and 90s who got shingles. And it's not fun. It's very distressing. And it comes down to, when you ask them, it usually comes around when your immune system is at a low. As long as your immune system is healthy, you don't have a problem. But the minute your immune system goes down low, which can come from anxiety, anxiousness, or as you get older, if you're not eating right, if you're exposed to stuff and you get sick, it's harder for you to beat something, and then things pile on. So you could go from having a cold to going to have shingles with it.
Yeah, my dad had my dad contracted shingles, and it wasn't bad. Like a lot of people, they get it on their back, and they're all it's painful and all this other stuff. My dad had like a little spot on his nose.
Yeah, and that's just it. You don't know how your body's going to react. Everybody's body is different. And it really depends on your immune system more than anything. If it got in, but you've still got a fairly strong immune system, it's not going to have a chance to spread hard. So as far as shingles go, Beans, because of your age, I don't know. Only thing that would worry me, and we've talked about your one condition, that if that got out of hand, then I'd worry about it, because at that point your immune system can become compromised.
Now, I wonder how dangerous it is for an older person who has never had chickenpox to get chickenpox at an older age.
Actually, it's they become kids. In other words, it's always the saying: you're screwed as a kid and you're screwed as an adult, or excuse, not adult, as a senior. When you're a kid, you've never been exposed to something, so when you get exposed, there's a good chance you're going to get it. But as a kid, you're going to fight it off, and it's going to go away pretty easily.
I mean, there's parents out there that'll have like, if some kid comes down with chicken pox, they'll have like play dates with the kid that has chicken pox, so their kids get chicken pox.
Oh yeah, because then it's over with.
Yeah,
you can almost time it.
It's easier to take care of as a child or as a kid than.
Yeah, exactly. But then, as an older person, that's when the immune system can't fight like it used to. That's when your body's not absorbing the nutrients like it used to. So the downside is, okay, you're just like a kid, you're going to catch it, but then even worse as a senior, you can't fight it off as good as you could when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Chicken pox can be actually, you can get hospitalized for chicken pox as a senior versus as a kid, not as likely. Because kids, they absorb nutrients better, their body's more capable of fighting. The older you get, the less likely your body is capable of fighting is because it's not absorbing nutrients properly. And you're less likely to take in nutrients because you don't have to eat the vegetables if you don't want to.
I remember the day I came down with chicken pox. I was in the kitchen. It was before school, so I'm in the kitchen making my breakfast and everything. I poured a glass of orange juice, and my belly was itching. So I pulled up my shirt and I looked, and I had a whole bunch of little chicken pox things on my belly. And I started freaking out, and I passed out in the kitchen.
Oh boy!
And then I had the next week or so off of school.
Yeah. See, my mom tried to gauge it, so we had it before school. I had it when I was 3 or 4. It's one of those. But one, the likelihood that you would remember it is a lot lower, and 2, you wouldn't have to. Your parent, by then your parents had. If you have it when you're in school, your parents are already into the routine, and to take 2 weeks off while you have chicken pox isn't the easiest. So my mom, being that she was a school nurse for a little tiny town during that time, she knew who had chicken pox.
Right. Hey, we're talking about vaccinations and stuff. And we had some information dropped to us. It was in our team room. Okay. It's a memorandum from the Department of the Army, 2nd Battalion, 1st Air Defense Artillery Regiment.
Ah.
Did you see that?
I saw that.
Yeah, Tasking Order 180401, soldier anthrax vaccinations between 2001 and 2007. The task, 2nd Battalion, 1st Air Defense Artillery Regiment identifies Guardian soldiers who received anthrax vaccinations from Fort Campbell and Fort Drum from 2001 to 2007 for Operation Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom. To inform their soldiers no later than 4 May of 2018 of a possible Veterans Affair benefit. The purpose of this memorandum, of this tasking, informs soldiers who received bad anthrax batches from Fort Campbell and Fort Drum between 2001 and 2007 to, I guess, go get checked out or to get their records pulled because that's an automatic 100% VA disability.
And here's a piece of advice. If you were in during that time and you got that vaccination, don't go by just the fort because they're saying those because that's where the bulk of the lots went. It doesn't mean that there weren't
bad batches other places,
other batches in other areas, or in other words, the bulk of the batches went to those forts. So that, and I know how the military works is they'll sit there and say, well, these bases got the bulk of the batches. That doesn't mean other bases didn't get part of the batches also.
Or those 2 bases were identified as receiving the lot that was defective.
Well, and that's what I mean. In other words, they'll receive those lots, and the problem is they disperse those, and they're not just kept on those bases because some bases they'll sit there. Another base will say, "Hey, we need a couple more," and so they get sent.
See what I'm wondering, and this is a very specific memorandum for a specific unit. I'm wondering if this is a far-reaching further reaching memo that maybe other commands are issuing. So it's not just confined to the 1st Air Defense Artillery Regiment.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is, see, I've heard complaints, and I'm sure you've heard them too, where guys say, yeah, that anthrax did me a number. Well, here's the thing, guys. This is actually the proof. It's coming out. They're starting to acknowledge what lots are involved. And they're willing to say these lots, the bulks were sent here.
No, but what I'm saying is this is a very specific memo for a very specific unit, the 2nd Battalion of whatever.
Yeah.
But when I was in 6th Cav, we went to our TMC was on the airfield at Fort Hood.
Okay.
We weren't the only unit that went to that TMC. That TMC was frequented by everybody.
Yes.
2nd AD went there. 6th Cav was there. 158th Aviation Regiment was there. We had an MP unit that went there. So it's this is just oddly specific.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder. Knowing how things ran, if they're being that specific, it's possible that they kept them in specific supply for those units,
or
units
like
the deployables,
or like when we did EDRES, emergency readiness deployment exercises. We would go and it'd be like a 1 or 2 day event.
Yeah.
Everybody making sure their 201 file was current, and make sure their wills were written, made sure everyone had dog tags, made sure there's a whole lot of TA-50 laying out, and then shots. We all stood in line, and everybody was brought up to speed with their shots.
Yeah.
So maybe it was just for their EDRE.
Yeah, and see, back in my day, it was called POMS. But yeah, and that's what I mean. In other words, if they're being that specific, there's a good chance it was falling under the fact that those were the units that held those lots, and they held their POMs or EDRES with those lots.
Right. Hey, Cedeno, we don't have any information on Fort Sill. I guess what I would recommend is possibly contact your VA, or go to the VA website and see if they've got some information for you.
The other thing that you'll want to do, because what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, they've got to find, if you have your old yellow shot records, that's what we had. I don't know if they changed that. The yellow shot records normally have dates and lots on them. Mm-hmm. And your old records, which some people get copies of, if you don't have copies of them, that's the St. Louis thing, where you want to get copies of your old medical records, and you need to see where you got them and what lot, so that when they finally stop saying, well, these specific units, and they actually come up with the lot number, which eventually is what they're going to have to do.
And I don't know. I mean, this memo was written on 10 April, but it was posted to us today. I didn't have a lot of time to research it. I don't know what kind of symptoms or effects you'd be feeling if you had a bad batch of anthrax.
Oh, geez. If I remember right, it's internal damage. In other words, it can be anything because it actually caused internal damage, if I remember right. Anything from kidney to liver problems, and that can be so widespread as far as what kind of symptoms you're going to show up with.
Yeah, and it's really hard. It's hard to. I mean, you might be getting treated for a kidney issue or a liver issue or whatever, but the cause of that might be pointing, or they might have pointed somewhere else.
Exactly.
And I guess now they're putting out the information that, hey, this might be an issue too.
Exactly, and they'll be, because it. Now they're coming out with it, they'll be able to do the backward on it and finally figure out, okay, here's the signs and symptoms that we can look for that directly surround this. But for now, they'll say, yeah, kidney, liver, possibly one or two other things may need to be looked at.
And it's pretty significant too if you are in that group of people that got that bad lot. If this is like an automatic 100% disability rating.
Well, yeah, and that's why I say it's an internal thing. It's not something that's I got itchy skin. No, you've got shutdowns. You've got things. It can even. I can't. I'm trying very hard to remember, but you can go, like I said, kidney, liver, and I think you can even go as far as pancreatic problems nestled in there also. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to be a wide scope, and all they're going to be able to do is say, okay, when were you in? Where were you? And what I'm going to say is, even if you were in during that time and you've got any problems that point to what they're saying, don't just sit there and fixate on the actual bases, because for all you know, like I said, I know that they ship stuff out from one TMC or one aid station to another because someone's low on something and they need it.
Right.
So just be aware of that, guys. Well, we are getting close to the top of the hour again.
Yeah, these 2 hours go by quickly.
Yes, they do. And I was going to ask you, what were your thoughts for the week?
What are my thoughts for the week?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I make it up as I go. This will be an easy week for me, man. It's a short week. I'll be off. As of now, I've got Friday off, but that's all subject to change.
Yeah. Well, I try very hard to think about the coming events of the week, or how to put things in perspective. One, we've got some adventures going down to Texas next weekend. Guys, when you go down there, just try to keep yourself positive. Things don't tend to attach to you when you're positive.
Week, 15. That's this Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, if you guys don't know, we got a team going down to Yorktown, Texas, which is just outside. It looks on the map. It looks like it's about a pretty good 50-minute drive west of San Antonio, in Yorktown, Texas. Well, it's the RIP guys are going to be going, and our folks are going to be there. See, Jay Rady's going to be there, Pookie's going to be there, Minx, Spanky, and I don't know. I think there's one more person. Maybe I'm wrong, but they're going to be going down and doing a little ghost hunting tour of an abandoned hospital. And this hospital is it was closed in the 80s. And I'm pulling this all from memory, but the hospital had a reputation of not being a very good hospital. And they killed more people than they saved. So Jay Reddy and the guys are going to go down, and the ladies are going to be going down to that little playground. And so I don't think that there's going to be a show on Saturday.
No, that's what they're saying, is no show on Saturday, Neil. And what I was saying, coming from a shaman's perspective, and I know some of you've heard me say, yeah, I'm a shaman, and well, what does that mean? Well, I've actually actively worked with getting rid of entities, ghost and otherwise. And just be careful, guys. Don't let anything get attached to you. Try to keep positive. And if you start having bad dreams, give me a call.
So also this week we have let's see, Tori Willardson He's from Dogs to Dog Tags. They're out of Wisconsin. He's over 20 years of civilian and military dog training experience and a passion for training both dogs and dog handlers for service. He's helped many of his handlers to adopt their dogs. Tori's broad knowledge and deep understanding of how canines can help cope with stress guides this organization and promises to help at-risk veterans who suffer from PTS. Dogs to Dog Tags, our goal is to pair a service dog in need of a home with a veteran in need of unconditional love and support. Because we know that veterans' battles aren't always over when they return home. And that a dedicated service dog, provided at no cost, can be one of the simplest, most effective ways in which we can all stand by these brave men and women. And you can check them out at dogs2dogtags.com. They got, Facebook, Dogs to Dog Tags. It's all Dogs to Dog Tags. Instagram, they got a Twitter. And then a week from Tuesday, for Tied Up Tuesday with Minx and Gray Cloud, they're going to have Dom is going to be back from Guardians of the Green Beret. I did the interview with them last time. I forget what night it was. Maybe it was a Saturday night show that I filled in for. But Guardians of the Green Beret are former and current SF members that are dedicated to expose those who falsely claim to be Green Berets. Dom will be back to update us on some cases that they have recently exposed. And it's got to be a lot. Those guys are busy people. They were I interviewed them. It was only a few months ago.
Yeah.
And so if they've got enough going on that they're coming back now, they've got to have a pretty full plate.
Well, and we see it in the news all the time if you pay attention. There's guys out there always trying to say that, I was this or I did this. It's kind of sad.
And a lot of these, if you go to their website, Guardians, I think it's Guardians. Yeah, it's Guardians of the Green Beret.com or, the Facebook / Guardians of the Green Beret. You see all of their efforts, and they expose these people. A lot of these guys are older, like Vietnam era, and then they get exposed. There's a couple of younger folks on there. Some tried to use that. I mean, they had honorable service, and they just embellished the shit out of it, and they, it's not like they're like a stolen valor. Saying that you're in the military when you weren't, but these guys were actually in the military at one point or another, and then kind of went astray and falsely claimed to be Green Berets, and these guys will come to get you.
They'll sniff you out.
They will pay you a visit.
Okay, and the rest of the house cleaning on Mondays. Join us for the Monday edition with Ice. Tuesday, Tied Up Tuesday with Minx and Gray Cloud. Wednesday is Donza, but at AJ on WTF Nation Radio Gaming, where we host for Slay Dragons and stuff. Thursdays, with Ice and Doc Madness. Friday is Saturday Night Savagery with Jay Reddy and Pookie. Back to the Sunday with Kick It With Cause. We appreciate you coming and joining us.
All right, everybody. I guess that's the show, man. We're going to call it. So, hope you guys have an excellent night. Have a great week this week. Be at the right place at the right time in the right uniform. You guys take it easy. We'll see you next week.
Try to remember, for me, one thing. Take 30 minutes for yourself sometime this week and just do something that makes you smile. Make me proud.
All right.
Shot.
You guys have a good night. See ya.
See ya.
for? I look for big movies. WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
Well, I love
This is WTF Nation Radio.